So my Dracaena Lisa was doing fine. I was watering my plants on Sunday, playing with a couple of the canes, the stems, and that happened. So this is not the video I planned on doing right now, but it's going to happen. So yes, sad but true, I was thinking, oh, I'm going to stake this. You can't see it because it's hard to get this in frame and see the whole plant and avoid the windows and everything, but it goes up pretty high. It probably goes up to about 8 feet. I've got 12-foot ceilings, and this happened. Woohoo! I swear, I was just like, what size stake do I need? Am I going to fishing line? Because I've got this little stem fishing line to here. So it was kind of like a big booby trap. Hi, I'm Nell. Welcome or welcome back. If you love plants and gardening, both indoors and outdoors, then you are in the right place. Oh, it is hard to get an angle on this, I swear, but here's this one. This stem here is propped up on the lamp there. So in the early spring, I'll probably prune off the other ones too, but I'm going to start with this one here. But I've had this plant for about 7 years, and I bought it in a 10-inch pot. It was about this tall here, and obviously it's grown because that's what plants do. And as it grew, this cane gets smaller up at the top. I'll close in on the canes down below. The growers call the stems canes. So a corn plant is sold with 1 cane, 2 canes, 3 canes. It's a stem, a cane, a trunk. That's just the horticultural speak for this as a cane. It gets thin up here, and then the head is heavy. And I should have staked it. I could probably still stake it, but it's just bent now. I mean, it's not bent completely, but I think I want to rejuvenate it. But just prune it probably. I'm going to show pruning it because I was debating, but I was actually thinking, what size stake? And then, nyeh. So anyway, had other plans. But like the Dracaena Messangiana, the corn plant, has much thicker canes, and the canes are pretty thick. Unless it's growing in really low light, then it'll kind of go, eh. And the Dracaena marginata, the dragon tree, which you know, has really thin canes, and the heads aren't nearly as big as these heads. So they will do their bending and their twisting and get interesting, beautiful forms. I've seen the dragon trees and really trained into exquisite forms, but this one is just heavy, so gonna have to give her the old chop chop. And you can even see how the canes on the bottom are all bending. They bend and twist, and then they start to grow up. So those aren't bothering me too much. At some point, this plant is going to be taking up too much room too. But I'll zoom on in, and you can see how those canes at the bottom are thicker, even in there and up to there. And then they start to get thin. So another very common reason this could happen is overwatering, and the stems get mushy and soft, and this is what happens. This is not the case here. It's nice and firm all the way up and down. It's just not able to hold that up, or if the light is too low, they'll start to really reach toward the light. This is just how it's growing, like with snake plants. If you have a big snake plant, the big leaves will bend over because they're kind of crimped and just small at the bottom, and the weight of the top of the leaf will pull it over. But The case is, in this case, it's just how it's growing too heavy, but I could air layer it. I have air layered a rubber plant before. I just redid the blog post on how to make a rubber tree or rubber plant branch out. So if you're interested in that, head over to joyousgarden.com. I say that because I did air layer my rubber plant. I could air layer this. I could also notch it and then prune it off, with air layering and notching, you oftentimes, prune off. Air layering for sure. So in terms of time of year, this is not a good time of year to do it, but sometimes as I say, the best times are blah, 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 but oftentimes you have to do something, or every now and then you do. This is mid-October. I would not necessarily do this at this time of year, but hey, it happens, so we are going to cut it off. And I have pruned Dracaenas before. I've cut them off straight and I've angled them. I think with this one, I'm going to do an angled cut. This is really hard to get an angle on filming myself and giving you an idea what's going on. I wouldn't normally necessarily do this, but I think instead of holding it up and pruning it and trying to get the angle of the camera, I'm just going to cut this off here. I'm going to cut it straight across about, starts to bend about there. So I'm going to cut it off there. And then we'll see how it looks. Okay, well, we see how it looks, obviously. And I'm going to take this into the kitchen because that's where we're going to propagate this. I can't even see the viewfinder from this angle, so we're just going to do this. It has a slight bend here. So I think I'm going to angle it right above here. Just right there. And that is that. So after it has rooted in late winter, early spring, I'm going to plant it right in the front there because everything's turning very stemmy, caney here. But I want to show you on some of the younger growth on a Dracaena, nice and green. There's a few brown tips. Dracaenas are very prone to brown tips. It's just like, ponytail palms, the dry air. But when you get into the older growth, you see some spots on the Dracaenas there, and that is usually a watering issue. It's hard to get the watering exactly straight, especially right when you go from season to season. And also, when I first bought this plant, I wasn't using filtered water. They are very, very susceptible to salts and minerals in the water. So now I use filtered water because I have a filter in my sink. So, but that over there, you can see some there. So it's just typical of Dracaenas. All right, well, you sometimes have to do that to a Dracaena because they get leggy, especially the Dracaena marginatas. I don't know if you've seen them or where they're like 9 feet tall and it just has like 3 small heads on it. You can cut it back. I never cut it all the way down, but you can cut it back and new shoots will grow into, you'll see new growth, some shoots, some sprouts appearing, and then those will turn into heads or to stems and you will get rejuvenation. And again, early spring into early summer is the best time to do it, but it just went flippity flop, and as I said, I could have staked it, but no. So I'm going to remove a bunch of the lower leaves here before I propagate it. Obviously, I'm propagating it in water. When I've propagated Dracaenas before, I've always propagated them in water, or I've done the air layering. So that is my preferred there. I might cut some of them off because as you get up closer and the stem is, the growth is fresher and it doesn't just want to peel away. So I'm going to take it off to get a good amount off so that the plant through the winter doesn't have to deal with all the energy of the foliage. And also too, when I plant it back in, because all those canes are starting to get taller, I'll have something nice and low and full down here to fill in at the base. It's not getting leggy or spindly, it was just getting tall and flopping. But it is an interesting form, that's for sure, and I have the room for it too. So that's just an example of how a Dracaena Lisa, I keep on wanting to call them Janet Craig because when I started in the trade, they were Janet Craig, and the Lisa is the improved version of the Janet Craig. So I always want to call them Janet as we call them Craigs. So anyway, that is probably good right there. Well, let's see. Do we like that? I think we do. So I'm gonna make sure it's a nice, gonna cut it right across there and put it into the water so that a few nodes are covered. I'm probably actually gonna take out a little bit of the water. I have it up to here. I'm probably gonna have it down to there. I like to have, in this case, 3 or 4 nodes covered. You don't want to keep the water all the way up to here. Here is fine. And depending on how skanky it looks, I will probably change it out every 2 weeks. Oh, and I'm going to put this in a nice bright spot. I'll probably put it, because I have a lot of other cuttings I haven't given away yet, and this is kind of big, so I'll probably put it in my bathtub, because I don't use my bathtub. There's plenty of light there, so it is probably going to go into, as I call it, the propagation tub, not the bathtub. And it can happily get lots of nice light in there. And I'm not quite sure when this will root. I have rooted them before in water. Dracaena marginatas usually start to show a root coming out in a month or so. I don't know at this time of year, but by spring it should be rooted. And if you are interested in getting a Dracaena Lisa of your own, they're great plants. I've done a care video and post and blog post. I've also done a blog post and a video on repotting a Dracaena Lisa, because I did repot that one a few years ago, back when I was at my old house. So I hope you found this to be helpful, or at least interesting. I thank you for all your likes, your subscribes, your comments, all that good stuff. I really appreciate them. Now let's get into our gardens and make our worlds a more beautiful place. I thank you for watching, and be sure to come back, because we have a lot more videos coming your way all about gardening and plants and all that good stuff that we love. Thanks for watching. Bye.